tweens, which is kids between age 8 and 12, used an average of 5 hours and 33 minutes of screen time each day. And teens had an average of 9 hours.
No. Should you have kind of unrestricted access to apps like TikTok before a certain age?
Like, you only need to look at the statistics for like anxiety, depression, suicide, self-harm.
The algorithm knows you better than you know yourself.
Exactly.
And where do you draw the line with this?
And there's so much bigger problems in the world. If you're trying to play, you know, we're here to change the world, we're here to make things better, one step at a time, let's go. Starting there is just like, it shows you how disassociated from actual reality.
And I think you're leaving a lot on the table if you view work in that way.
When I do look back, I have slight regret about it.
I was working hard and I was getting rewarded, so effort is something that is well within your control.
I know a lot of people who work so hard and all it's got them to is just more work and more stress, same wage.
It comes down a little bit to your character, personality. If you're the type of person that's going to lay down,
You're going to take it. The new TikTok news, which is basically that they're going to limit screen time for people under 18.
So is this long overdue, or is this...
Massively, I would say. I think it's definitely a necessity.
To limit someone's screen time?
To kids, I suppose, yeah. I guess if you're an adult, you can do what you want, but...
Do you think there should be an age limit on these apps, full stop? Like, should you have kind of unrestricted access to apps like TikTok before a certain age?
I don't know, because I don't actually know specifically what entails, what type of videos, but
It's
I feel
like,
some of the videos you can watch are pretty bad.
Yeah, even like, it's more just like, I imagine it's like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. It's just like very short form, quick, like, what's the word? Trying to retain your attention, just...
Oh, pure manipulation.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Psychological manipulation, yeah. Oh, yeah, I assume it's definitely like that. I think so. It's dangerous for kids to spend that much time on their phone consistently. But I'll read out what it entails. So it said, on Wednesday, the social media platform announced changes to help teens manage their time on TikTok. Every account belonging to TikTok users under 18 will soon automatically set to a 60-minute daily screen limit. The default time limit for eligible accounts is expected to arrive in the coming weeks. There will still be option for teen TikTokers to continue using the app beyond the 60-minute limit, but they will have to enter a prompted passcode. So
this is exactly like time limits on your phone that are absolutely pointless. Because within 2 clicks, you can override your time limit and just carry on. So they haven't really kind of restricted people's times. They've just kind of...
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They've just... They're asking 18-year-olds to make a responsible decision. People below 18-year-olds. Yeah. And not only that, like, it's a proper stick it to the man sort of vibe, isn't it? Like, if I was that age and they were telling me to not do this...
Fuck you, TikTok.
I'm definitely going to... I can't wait for that limit, but I'm hitting 60 minutes just to get that notification.
I wonder how long people are spending on TikTok. I think it's probably the more addicting app that's out there. It's purely short form.
It's very engaging as well. Like, I've seen from being at the youth service that there's a lot of things that do keep you on it, like game wise. Tapping the screen, there's a game like you can, if you tap, see how many times you need to tap the screen 100 times. So you can get the fastest score. Yeah. All passing their phone around, smashing the fingers off the screen. Oh, that's not good for the phone.
Yeah, and it gets people engaged, like they're recording TikToks to put on the app. It's more engaging that way, when rather than Instagram Shorts, you're mostly just watching stuff.
Yes, mate.
This is more like get you involved.
And one of the things they do is they do a lot of dances. So you have to copy a dance. But how do you learn that dance? By watching.
In TikTok for hours.
Yeah. And you got these like 9-year-old Justin Timberlakes absolutely choreographing themselves into like perfection on this, 10-15 minute clips. But some facts about social media, I wrote a little one down. It says last year, tweens, which is kids between age 8 and 12, used an average of 5 hours and 33 minutes of screen time each day. And teens had an average of 9 hours.
No.
Yeah. 8 hours, 39 minutes, but around that.
That's a full day at work.
Yeah,
That is that's more than a full day.
How do you manage to rack that number up outside of school?
That's crazy. You're awake probably 16 hours a day. So you're spending more than half of your waking day on a social media app.
Their brains must be frazzled, eh?
Yeah, that's crazy.
What do you think that's going to do to them when they're older?
Don't know, mate. That can't be healthy for anybody to spend that long. And that's just on social media apps.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier. Like my screen time can be 3-4 hours, but that's made up of like work calls. And I even think that's bad. But to have 9 pure hours on social media, Jesus.
I wonder how much like people that would go on to do like extraordinary things that never get birthed, you know, like musicians, painters, poets, other things like that, whose ability to sort of go that way just never fruitions because their mind's always consumed with something else.
They never pulled on that thread because they were distracted by wow, yeah, I never thought of that.
I reckon it happens loads.
Yeah.
Or is that a okay old man comment, and actually there's been thousands of other people birthed of being able to do great things with technology that wasn't around.
And also, like, if you think about TikTok, it's a way to able to show off your work. So how many musicians have been able to show off their songs? So or artists show off their paintings and things like that. So you could look at it that way, I guess.
So don't be naive, Josh.
I think it's just such a complicated issue, isn't it? It's brand new. It's so new, isn't it? In terms of like how long it's been around and what impact it's going to have on people and society. You can have the doom and gloom look, but there is probably a lot of benefits as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's benefits in like, this is where I think the positives and negatives are. So there's benefits in like, I guess, showcasing yourself and being able to showcase your talents, what you're into, what you like, how your life's going. But you miss out on like the humanistic approach of getting to know people. You know, like when I think what I'm trying to say is, you know, like when we were kids, right? I have such a huge sense of like nostalgia for growing up, you know, messing around down the Saint-Chen, Grand Vaux, all those council estates where you meet up and you're with your mates, right? And you learn how to have banter, you learn how to mess about, you learn when it's your turn to get bullied that day, the boys are on me, this feels like shit, I don't feel good, I'm going home. Do you know what I mean? But that hurts you, man. You learn how to get like thick skin from that. And then as you grow up, you got the girl group, you know, and you start to go through puberty or whatever, you start to like each other and then you're forced to go kiss someone. And like, and then you learn like, oh, this girl likes me, I know how to behave, and then you try with this girl, she doesn't like me, I know how to like, well, okay, no worries, like, but I reckon kids are missing out on that, so they're going to be breeding some little maniacs that will leave their room in 10 to 15 years.
Though, like, do you think that, like, I think that still happens though?
What?
I don't think like kids are not going out,
like,
not doing things.
I
think maybe it's less, it might be less, but I don't think it's like they're not doing those things anymore.
But yeah, they don't have that face-to-face like knockback. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't hurt. Like, you could be a cocky little twat online.
Yeah.
To anyone, girls, boys. You want to try your luck with like the fittest girl in school from the other side of the island, like wherever you are, you can. Do you know what I mean? There's no embarrassment there when they tell you to get to
it online. Yeah.
Where you have to go through embarrassment, but even with your mates, you have to go through things. And I think you learn a lot. You learn a lot being outside and congregating in that sort of manner. I don't know if they do that. Maybe they still do. I hope they still do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an age-old meme, isn't it? That, you know, back in I remember playing outside with the footballs and
climbing trees,
playing curvy and conkers and whatnot. But now it's like all kids do is play on their iPads and they don't know what the sun looks like. And I don't know. I guess when people are talking about it in that sense, they act like everyone's vampires.
Yeah, I reckon it's just different, and like that's where that kind of whole idea comes from. Is then they maybe don't spend as much time outside, and like there is the option to get online and play Call of Duty with your mates or speak to your mates on social media. But I still reckon they're out doing the things that we would have done when we were, just maybe not to the extent we would have done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting. We'll only probably see as like that generation becomes adults and goes into the working world and like become like responsible members of society if there's been an impact, you know what I mean?
And those people are gonna be the the politicians of the world.
Yeah, one day. Yeah.
But I've also heard, you know, that they're a lot like greener, as in the sense of, you know, like eco like friendly.
Yeah.
They're more into earth. They're more into like charity shop clothing and stuff like that. So there is loads of little niches on the internet.
Yeah.
That
I
probably...
actually, and as well, I was listening to a podcast with Chris Williamson and Mark Manson, who wrote Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I don't know if you've read it.
I've heard of that.
But he says about it, and he's like, if you think about when we were younger, like it was cool to be like a bit of a degenerate, like out every weekend, not waking up at some random person's house, telling stories about all your drunk nights out and that. And he's like, for young men, like it's changed now. It's like, it's more about being like focused, having goals, no fat, which he talks about, having discipline, being healthy, getting in the gym. So he's like, it's different now. It's a different world. It's a different advice for young people. So
yeah, I reckon that ascertains though to like young adults more.
do you think?
Yeah. I reckon the actual teenagers just don't know what they're doing.
Still, yeah, maybe.
I reckon they're all over.
Depends who their role models are, really, doesn't
I know.
it?
Well, like a lot of them idolize like, you know, YouTubers. And not...
That's what I mean. Like, their YouTubers are quite like with it people. You've got some that maybe just streamers or good personalities, so they kind of just got lucky. But to build a YouTube channel to 1 million subs is like an extremely difficult thing to do, especially if you're doing all the video editing, audio yourself, marketing yourself, learning like what makes a good video, what doesn't make a good video. So like, if that's your idol, I think that's a good idol to have, and someone that's like, it's a positive role model. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they build companies, they build teams around them.
Exactly, yeah.
To a sense, they're entrepreneurial.
Very entrepreneurial, and they've like used a platform like YouTube to grow a business, a brand, their own brand. So, yeah, if that's a role model, I think it's a good one.
I think like the hard point to like look at it from is because the internet's filled with everything. There is the ability to have it in a sense of positivity, and then it's also negative as well.
Whatever way you want to look at it, you can.
Exactly.
Find whatever you want to.
They're all there. But then it's just that sense is like, you know, we stop people under 18s from doing a lot of things in life. Do you know what I mean? Under 18, you're not allowed to drink. Under 16, you're not meant to have sex. You're not meant to drive. So that we do have precautions for a lot of things.
Safeguards for young
people. And I think social media's that astronomical that the safeguarding for it needs to either be looked at, adjusted, or at least put into the spotlight and really like reviewed, because it's huge and it has such a like big effect on people's mental health. I mean, you only need to see it, like you only need to look at the statistics for like anxiety, depression, suicide, self-harm for teenagers is gone through the roof, mate.
Well, this is what we were saying the other day, isn't it? It's the highlight reels. All you're watching all day is like the top 1% of people, and living the most extravagant lifestyles, doing the craziest things, giving away Lamborghinis or flying private jets to this place, going to these parties, where that's like the top 1% of people in the world that live that way, and mostly unattainable for most people. So imagine looking at that every day, and that was kind of your standard to which you thought life should be lived.
Yeah. Because like I've spoke to a few adults, like I'm talking parents' age, our parents' age, you know, 50, 60-year-olds, and they said like back in the day, like my mum, her boyfriend, me as mum and dad, we spoken with, like they didn't have any of that, and they didn't have like loads of people with ADHD. They didn't even know ADHD was, or autism, or like people with anxiety. As a kid, you're told to like, you know, cheer up or whatever back then. But now, like I know teachers and that. I've got like 6 kids on medication in my class. I got 6 kids with anxiety, 3 with ADHD, and it's like, man, I remember even when I was in school, we had 90 kids in our year. We had 1 kid who was like that, and now they just seem so like prominent in every classroom, everywhere. Social media's got to have something to do with that.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think in a sense that it probably does that to people's mental health anyway. I think kids are so susceptible that they see that that's a thing. I want to do that. I want to be like that. Like look at the drive and the rise and other things. You know, we were talking about the genders and everything else. The internet's had a part to play in all of that, and it does have a part to play in not necessarily warping kids' minds, but it helps them make decisions. And when you're a young kid and you don't really know what you want to be. You like to try things out, don't you? I mean, it's always been with like, you can look at the stereotypes of like, you know, goths, jocks.
You dress a bit different. You try that.
Nerdy kids, popular girls, kids into like heavy metal. Like, as you see in the movies, and I'm not saying these are kids that went to my school. I'm like talking about, you know, stereotypes from the years gone by. And now the internet has given these thousands of other options. So kids are grabbing onto that and say, that's what I am. This is what I am. This is what I am. And where it may be true or it may be false, but they have the ability to choose thanks to the internet putting it in their face.
Yeah, it's like an overload of information for young people, isn't it? Stuff that you probably wouldn't deal with until you got older, that all of a sudden it's like very in your face on social media.
I don't necessarily think it's their fault as well. Like, at that age, you're not mature enough to make like responsible decisions. Your brain hasn't fully developed. You don't think in the way you would as an adult.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it is. And like we've said it before, like these social media platforms are paying like some of the smartest people in the world to figure out how to keep you on those apps as long as possible. Yeah. So think even like a well-disciplined, well put together adult would struggle and does struggle. You know, we know people, we know their screen time, you know, we know what impact it's had on us now and again when we got sucked in. So imagine being a young teenager who hasn't really, you know, built that self-discipline yet, is still figuring out who they are, what they want to be, how easy they probably is for them to keep them on the apps, knows exactly what's to feed them, what videos they would like. Yeah, I think they're up against it.
They are up against it. No, everything you just said is bang on. We know how that algorithm works, you know. We've looked into it. It is, whether you look at it black and white, it's manipulation, isn't it? To a degree, because it knows, oh, you've been watching videos of wrestling, here's 10 more wrestling videos, you're not going anywhere, psych. You know what I mean? Oh, we seen you looked at 5 videos, but that video of this girl in her bra on a bikini, you paused for 5 seconds. So you watch that for 5 seconds, you watch the other 4 for 1 second. The next time you flick, guess what we're throwing you?
The algorithm knows you better than you know yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a child, you're not thinking, are they doing this on purpose?
Yeah.
You're just like, thank you. I'll have some of that. And then the next thing you know, you got home from school, you've ate your dinner, and then it's 11 p.m. And you're fucking shattered the next day.
Yeah, I can't believe that stat, 8 hours and 9 hours a day, whatever it was.
But then again, I was just thinking, as I said that, like, I used to rock COD till 12, 1 a.m.
This is what just before we started, we were saying that Mark Manson makes a very good counterpoint. He's like, how long were you sat in front of the TV after school or playing on the latest console? So what's the difference? Do you know what I mean? You were fine. You turned out okay. You probably spent more time than was considered healthy in front of the TV or on your PlayStation or Xbox. So
took me 12 years after school. So maybe it fucked me up. No. But those headset days were the rest of their class, you know what I mean? You look back at them with so much nostalgia, man, playing Call of Duty to the middle of the night on headset, and then you see each other in school like, you fucking shot me last night, man. What was that about?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but is that different?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is, and I think there'll be people sat round when the television was invented. They probably thought exactly the same thing about the television, saying people are gonna just ruining the young people's minds. They're sat in front of it all day when they used to be down the park playing football, chasing each other, whatever. Now they're sat in front of the telly for 2 hours after school. This is going to be the end of society, and this is probably just the same but different, you know?
Oh, but I know people who were around when the TV came out and they're still watching Corrie and EastEnders now. It's Emmerdale and Corrie and EastEnders and then whatever is. Oh, and then
Heartbeat. Don't forget Heartbeat.
Casualty, ER, The Bill, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like they've been there. Maybe they got them. Maybe that was the algorithm, the ITV algorithm. But yeah, man. So people need to. I don't know. It's a tough one for kids, man. It's tough. I wish them all the best, but I just think they are up against it, man. And
yeah, we'll see, won't we?
we'll see. But you know, there's enough crazy people in the world now. So will we ever be able to look statistic wise and say
what caused it?
Yeah, well, we'll never be able to get a real consensus because everyone's tapped anyway. Cool. Should we wrap that up for kids?
Yeah.
No, I meant we're on to the next topic. Okay.
Yeah. So you told me about this one. I couldn't believe it.
This one, I might take my jacket off for this one because so I'm pissed.
You text me the article about they're rewriting children's books now. More specifically, is it Roald Dahl, to remove offensive terms such as fat. Well, I'll let you explain.
No, that's right. You're correct. So new editions of the works of Roald Dahl, fucking amazing best-selling British novelist, whose children's classics include Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, James and the Giant Peach, we know SEO Trot, the Twits, wait, the fuck class, have been rewritten by someone else, not Roald Dahl, obviously, because he's dead, in an effort to make them less offensive and more inclusive. So that's the quite ignoring one. So I'll give you an example here. This is one of the examples apparently out of the new books. So they're just changing random stuff like characters who are no longer described as fat and references to mothers and fathers that have been updated to say parents or family. That doesn't make sense to me because you're trying to be inclusive, so you take mother out, so you include family, so it's got everyone involved. But what if the author had in his mind, you know, like single parents, single dads, single mums, which exist, and they read that book and then they could read that to their kid as a single parent. So now you're taking away from that branch to give to a branch that you think needs doing. I've got quite a lot as well, like even what Roald Dahl apparently said. He said, ready? Actually, we'll just talk about it first. I'll read it after. But look, there's literally millions of his books in libraries, schools, charity shops. Everywhere you look, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? You're going to go collect them all up, draw a fucking big fat black marker pen through them. No, you're not.
And where do you draw the line with this? Yeah. Where does this stop? Like, throughout, if you looked at all of the literature that's been written, I don't know, since forever, a huge portion of that will include those types of references. Mate. Because for the majority of time, those things have been acceptable to say. So, like, where do you stop with this?
Exactly. Half the biblical scriptures have compromising stuff that's offensive to somebody or one group of people. So, like, honestly, where do you start? Me, and they started with Roald Dahl. The nursery rhymes of Roald Dahl. And what annoys me about that as well, like I said this to you before, the way Roald Dahl's like rhyme schematics work, you know, his syllables and his punctuation, the way it flows off the tongue, it's like, you know, like an Eminem verse with too many syllables and it would be offbeat. His has that and like, you know, like it's kind of like rap, but read out in poetry style. So if you're going to start changing it, it wouldn't therefore make sense, and it would no longer be in the style of that specific author.
How many people as well do you think have read a Roald Dahl book and felt insulted, upset, you know, victimized, or whatever reason they're doing this for?
Yes, not a single human being in the world. And who reads Roald Dahl books? Adults to children, and maybe children when they're slightly old enough or learning to read, right? There's no scenario where a child reads a Roald Dahl book and feels either left out. If they feel left out, it's just because of the content they're reading, not specific words. So to change words is just absolutely diabolical.
Yeah, you're right. Unless a child's influenced by an adult,
it's a farcical.
There's no way you're going to pick up.
It's a farcical. So Roald Dahl apparently said this. Apparently, I was reading stuff. The guy who wrote Roald Dahl's autobiography had came out, obviously slating like, this is a stupid idea. So Dahl always resisted unnecessary sanitizing, noting that the author would recognise that alterations to his novels would be brought on by the political climate reflected by adult sensibilities, rather than children's opinions or misgivings.
So he's predicted it to a T.
And that's exactly what's happened. So I feel that you cannot change a dead person's work. It doesn't make it their work. They're not alive to give you the go-ahead. You're allowed to do that. It's completely unnecessary.
So unnecessary.
And Yeah, and it's stupid. And there's so much bigger problems in the world. If you're trying to play, you know, we're here to change the world. We're here to make things better. One step at a time. Let's go. Starting there is just like, it shows you how disassociated from actual reality.
This hasn't really happened before as well either. If you think about it, right, there's been things in history, like if you look at racism, like if you look at the N-word, that's probably been before, when racism was the norm and everybody was pretty much racist. I bet that word was written into so many books, literature, newspapers, whatever it might be. And it didn't go back. Once racism became not acceptable and frowned upon, you don't go back and change all the books that made reference to that word or used it in like a derogatory way, do you? That didn't happen. It didn't need to happen. You know, it's like you moved on, you moved forward. If the language changed, if what was acceptable changed, you kind of look forward, not back.
Exactly.
Whereas this feels like a super unnecessary, strange, not done before thing that's happening.
Yes, and you know how they can go full circle with that, with you just saying that then? It made me realise that if you remove everything from the past and then it goes, we live like far enough into the future, people look back and they won't know of the mistakes.
Yeah.
So by removing it all, do you know what I mean? But that
Yeah,
leads
that
us on
actually-
to 1984.
I was going to say, I had a quote from that which said, every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and every street building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day, minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right.
Yes, that's perfect. So let me just explain that to anybody that's listening. That is a quote from the book 1984, which was written by George Orwell, which was released in 1949, and it was basically predicting the future. I don't know if you ever heard the word Orwellian, like this is getting a bit Orwellian. That's basically just off of that author's name. So the book, it's about, I've read it, I think it's unbelievable, but I've just wrote the actual, like a thesis here, sort of a plot. So Winston Smith, he wrestles with oppression, and the place is called Oceana, which is like sort of a state, a place where the party, which Ben just mentioned, scrutinizes human actions with ever watchful Big Brother. Big Brother are like the government. That's where the actual word Big Brother from the TV show obviously comes from. Basically defying a ban on individuality, and because he's always being watched, he literally has to write in a diary his thoughts, and that's the only way he gets with thinking, isn't it? Gets away with thinking. So it's basically massive like totalitarianism and control of the public through surveillance, fear, action, propaganda, stuff like that. But one of the major processes and procedures that they do is they go back over the books that already exist. They change everything just been read out, dates, times, to basically suit themselves so other people don't know what's right and what's wrong. And there's a age-old quote that is, he who controls the future, no, he who controls the past controls the future.
Yeah, it's it really did remind me of this, because there was also, once you'd sent me that article, they're doing it with James Bond as well.
They're doing it with
they're
James
rewriting
Bond.
James Bond books.
It's a slippery slope.
Is it? And that's just what I think. Like, people might look at this and say, "Oh, come on, they're just rewriting a couple books to make everybody feel better. What's the big issue?" But it's one book, and then it's another author's set of books, and it keeps happening. It just seems like a place we don't want to go, or we don't need to go.
Yep. But where will it end? It's worrying as well, because like, take it, Stephen King, for example. I'm a huge fan of Stephen King. I've read loads of his books, and I read about him online a lot. So I'll go to like Reddit threads and read. And he's been cited as racist because the people who like misinterpret his books. So his book will have the N-word in it in like certain chapters, but he's trying to portray that there's racist people in the world. So he'll have like a racist person in his book, but people will take that racist person as like King's feelings, Stephen King's feelings, you know, and then classify him as a racist, when it's like, no, just read the book and you would say that he's trying to tell you like where he came from, man, where he grew up. There was racist people there's racist people in his town, and he was around them, and now he's showing you what somebody like who is a racist could be. So if they start going through his books and changing that,
it's the author's job to paint a picture of the world that they're trying to suck you into. So it's to say, yeah, it's such a difficult one. It's like, what was the book we both? I think it was Under the Dome, of that really graphic rape scene.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated it.
Horrible. I hated reading it, and like, but it kind of, it's such a graphic scene in the overall story to kind of give you the idea of how bad things were.
Exactly.
In that kind of story that he's built up. So where do you draw the line? You want to be more inclusive. You don't want people to get offended. There's people in the world that would have unfortunately been raped who won't want to read that. It was going to offend them. It's going to make them feel uncomfortable. There'll be people that read Stephen King's book and they've got the M word in and they've suffered racism, or their family have suffered racism. So what, do you take that out now? Do you remove that? Yeah.
And then you're telling a completely different story. But there's been a lot of backlash with the Roald Dahl. You know, a lot of people have kicked off. Professionals, even fucking the prime ministers came out and said, no, do not be doing that. Like, and then it's like, well, there you go. There's a barrage of people who've just told you you've offended them, who are not happy with that change, that's annoyed them. So you're offending people on your pursuit to not offend people.
It's also, it seems so illogical, and it also comes back to the point I think you said the other day, you said it really well. It's like, these adults that have got together to decide that they need to change the Roald Dahl books to stop kids being offended. They're offended on behalf of children who aren't even offended.
Yeah.
No, I bet no kid has ever complained to their teacher, why are we reading Roald Dahl? It's not inclusive.
Yeah.
You know, that just hasn't happened.
You got other things on your mind as a child, and politics is the last thing in the world.
The last thing, yeah.
So to start doing that, and what, you're going to go into the fucking where the Mona Lisa is and destroy it because it's a woman. You're going to get to that stage.
Yeah.
That's art, where you're going to destroy paintings, alter paintings, start drawing over paintings. Paintings of, like, you know, those in the barbershops, all those men in there. What you're going to go start drawing random, like, other people involved. What you're going to do? Where does it end? It starts with, like, books are huge, mate. That's art. That's a big piece of art. Messing up the whole world, the whole, like, what it is, its contents, its being. You're just shaking it up, mate, and like doing your.
And for what purpose? It's like, are you really doing it with good intentions, or are you doing it because you think you'll be seen to be a forward-thinking person who's worried about inclusivity and things like that? What's your real motive for doing these things?
Yeah.
Is it money? Did you think that because of the times that we live in, people would have jumped on this and loved it, and you'd have sold some books? Yeah, it seems illogical. It just seems illogical.
And where's your statistics? Where's your evaluated research that says this is the correct thing to do? We're on the right path by choosing to change words. Come on now. You might not even be correct. It might not even be the right thing to do. But I think they're doing it. I think they're releasing the Roald Dahl books with alterations, and then releasing the originals as one because of the backlash. But to still have the new ones out there when the author's not around, it's like, I don't know, mate. Like, look how upset those people were on those deep fake things when people were pretending to be them in pornography, those streamers, and it wasn't them, but their faces were put on porn models, and they were heartbroken. And it's just like, I don't know, mate. It's just, it makes no sense. It's wacky.
It's crazy that it happened. Like, if you think about it, it's a publishing company that owns the rights to those books, right? And they're usually ran by, you'd think, pretty switched on people who know how to run a business, a big publishing company like that. A group of adults have had to got together. Someone's had to pitch them that idea, and it's had to get signed off by like 6, 7, 8 people. To think that got through just baffles me. To think that got signed off, and someone signed off on the budget to go and find someone to rewrite the books and then release them, just seems crazy.
And who do you choose? Because that person then is changing quite a lot.
It's no longer really a Roald Dahl book, is it?
No. And what a present, what an accolade to have. I've wrote in Roald Dahl books. Me and Roald Dahl co-authored Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I've pretty much, I changed the words in that. So
consent.
Yeah, I've got a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if they started going proper, like, full mode of it, changing the endings, the stories and that.
Just reread it. Here's a Roald Dahl book with 0 input from Roald Dahl, just his name.
Charlie and the Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, let's just everyone just keep an eye on that though, and just see where it's going. Like Ben said, they're doing it now with James Bond. Yeah, and if they're starting with Roald Dahl and James Bond, mate, there's definitely a couple more people in the firing line about to be sniped.
They're only getting started.
Yeah. Sound, man. Right, we'll move on. If you're up for it, you're up for it.
Yeah, let's do topic of the week.
Topic of the week. Right, this one, I'm going to serve the ball up, smash it over to Ben, mate. I want you to hit some home runs. We're going into your knowledge of expertise here.
Yeah, so this is a good one, actually. This was actually recommended to us by someone that listens, Owen. So it was the topic of the week this week is choosing your career.
Yeah.
I think this is such a great topic to talk about because no matter who you are, what you choose to do for your career will be a huge part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when I was younger, when I left school at 16, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I had all these big ideas of like, I was going to do something really creative, follow my passion. I was going to it was just going to work out. It was just going to happen for me. And I spent like probably 16 to 21 not really doing anything. Like I worked in bars. I went back to college for a little bit. I did a little bit of time in retail. I did leaflet drops. I did plumbing apprenticeship for 3 months. I just took whatever job I could and just kind of coasted through it. And didn't really go anywhere. Didn't really have any clear plan of what I wanted to do. And I wasn't really applying myself to anything. I was just I was coasting. And I think that's what a lot of people do when they leave school. And work is such a big part of your life. And it's, for most people, including me up until like the age of 21, it was something I did just to have money. Like I had to work, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I worked to pay the bills and to like be able to afford a holiday, or wherever it was I was spending my money on when I was younger. And I think you're leaving a lot on the table if you view work in that way, as purely as a means to pay bills. I think that you can get so much more out of your work, and you can get so much more fulfillment out of your work if you have a different perspective. And I don't think that you have to have your dream job in order to do that.
Right.
I don't think that you have to have figured out your passion and then that's all you've done and you've figured out how to make money from your passion. I think within a lot of ordinary jobs, if you approach it differently and you try and view it as more than just a job, you fully apply yourself and you kind of, you get good at it. You apply yourself, you kind of learn as much as you can, you work hard, turn up early, leave late for a couple of years and you get quite good at it. You can get to what's the way to explain it? When you get good at something, you enjoy it more. And I think that, and when you get good at a job, there's opportunities open up to you that otherwise wouldn't have been available. So I think it's a shame if you only view work as just a job. And I think that with the normal job, there's a lot more that you can get out of it if you kind of view it that way. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
yeah, no, mate. I was like, when I do look back, I have slight regret about how long it took me to find my footing in an actual career that I guess I've been in now for a while. Because I feel like if I had my head a bit more screwed on in the earlier days, I would have, been at the beginning of the ladder a lot earlier and therefore at the top, more up the ladder a bit further on. Like I was the same as what you just explained, mate. I left school, didn't go to college, just got a job at 16, a Sparky apprenticeship. I was on a building site for 9 months and I absolutely hated it, mate. I just could not stand it. So I was like, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life, that's sure. I went to work one day and just carried on walking past the building site, walked home, rang the geezer, said, oh no, I'm not coming in, man. That was it. Booked to go back to college, done media for a year, left, had a labouring job for a bit, worked in the shoe shop for a bit, worked at like this company that deals with shares. messed them all up, like, or moved on from them, basically. Half of them I didn't enjoy. One I was in for 4 years where I just pretty much stayed in the same place doing the same role. I was like, I got to move on to something better. There's nothing really intriguing in there, so I went to the bank. Been in the bank now for about 6-7 years. Probably had about, I'd say, gone up like 4 promotions, and which is all right, but like it's still not nowhere near where I want to be. And then that's where I am now. Now I'm just pretty complacent. You know, I don't really want to move on because it's I'm not like you in the sense I'm proper like driven in that, because I know I don't have any passion in finance. I know you don't need to, but with the bank, it's like it's a means to an end, man. And I just admit, man, I'm working to pay bills at the moment. I'm not in a job where I'm like, I want to prevail in this and, you know, become the best I can be. Because in the bank, it's hard, man. And you can go into wrong roles, man. Like the role I'm in at the moment, I get paid well and the job's fine. And you can move on from that, you know, where you get paid the same amount and you're just inundated with work. So it's really hard to choose where you want to go, because it's like, it's good here. I'm happy here. Do I move somewhere else, a little bit more money, and I'd be less happy? I don't know. So it's a hard decision.
Yeah. I think this is it. Like, so like, it's just my experience. Like before I went into work in finance, I went to work in finance when I was 21, and before that, I just dosed around like I was saying before. And then when I went to work in finance, I was of the same view that I'm going to this job because it pays more than working in bars. I'm not particularly interested in working in finance, and it's a means to an end. It's just to pay bills. But then I was like, for the first year, I'm just going to fully apply myself. I'm just going to really go for it. I did all my exams that I needed to do, plus more that I didn't need to do. I was taking on as much responsibility. I was asking loads of questions. I started reading loads of business books, and I just kind of fully committed myself to this job that really it wasn't something I was super passionate about either, but I just thought, let's see where it ends up. And that's where I was quite surprised. Like at the end of the first year, the second year, once I started like actually getting pretty good at it, I started enjoying it more. When you like get pretty good at something, it becomes more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then also like I was working hard and I was getting rewarded. So after 6 months, I got a promotion, and another 6 months, I got another promotion and a pay rise. And it was like, oh, hang on a minute. If I work hard, I'm going to get rewarded. And then I did that for 4 years. Then I went and worked at another company in funds, and I got to manage a team. So I started learning how to manage a team, got more responsibility, different sector. So I was working in funds now, so it was all brand new things to learn. And then I did that I was 6 years in, and then I was like, I kind of reassessed, you know, is finance for me? Is that something I want to do? And I was like, well, I do enjoy it and I seem to be pretty good at it. But what is it about my job that I really love? And then it was like, okay, well, I took this test. I think it's called, got it here. It's called Sparketype, SPARKE, and then type TYPE. And it's just a questionnaire. And it's basically like you answer however many questions. And at the end, it will give you like, based on your response, you are interested in these things.
All right.
So I did that, and it was like, you like solving problems and you like making things better than they are when you find them. And I was like, actually, that makes sense, because that's what I've done a lot of as part of my role where I've been like successful. So then I was like, well, how can I do more of that, but still working within finance? And it was, there was a project management job going where they had an opening, which was basically working on projects, new system, solving problems, trying to make things better, process improvement. So I went for that job, and because I'd applied myself for the last 6 years, sorry, had a good CV, I'd learned all these skills doing something maybe I didn't want to do initially. I had a great CV, so I was able to get the job. So by fully applying myself at something I didn't think maybe was for me, I got pretty good at it. Got a good CV behind me, earned some decent money, and then when a job came up for me that I was interested in and was the stuff I actually really enjoyed, I had the skills of it, like I had the skills, knowledge, and experience to kind of put myself forward for it. So, had I just viewed that initial job and not fully applied myself as just a means to paying bills and just kept it there, I may not have ended up in this job that now it's like I get to travel, go to other offices. I'm just working part of the team that's delivering this system in all our new offices. So, yeah, it's a tough one, but I think it's also like demoralizing if you just view it as just a job. You become like almost, I don't know if it's resentful, but I guess you're not thrilled to get up in the morning. You're kind of living for the weekends. And I think if you're doing that, you know, like work is such a big part of your life, isn't it? It's like 5 days a week, 35 hours plus if you're doing overtime. So it's a shame if you're living for the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame if you don't enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Because then it just becomes a hindrance. And like you said, you drag yourself to and from it.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. Like, obviously, I'm just speaking from my experience. I know it's different for everyone, but it's like, it's very, I think if you find a job that you truly love, you're lucky. I think that's the exception, not the rule. I think most of us go into jobs because we need to pay bills. So it's like, what's the best option for you? Is it wait out and hope that you eventually find a job you love and just kind of see what happens? Or do you figure out a way to make the job that is available to you the best it can possibly be? I think most likely the second option is your best option. You know, you make the best of what you can, try and find meaning in what you do, try and find what it is about that job that you do enjoy, and just focus on doing as much of that as possible, figuring out to do how you can do as much of that as possible. But
yeah, depends where you end up as well, though, because I find some companies can like, they do just see you as a number, do you know what I mean? And like a bit of a cash machine where they just get you to work for them. So I guess it is down for you to like work out what works for you and what doesn't. Like there's people who genuinely work as hard as possible. I know a lot of people, well, I'm not going to say where from, but you know, who work so hard and all it's got them to is just more work and more stress, same wage, same place.
Yeah, I think, see, that's not been my experience personally, but I've heard Peterson talk about this, and I think it's like, it comes down a little bit to your character, personality. If you're the type of person that's going to lay down,
you're going
and
to take
that,
it. Yeah,
exactly.
No, you're right. Exactly. But that's just unfortunate. There's a lot of people who aren't intuitive in that sort of way where they, you know, like, you're a very clever person, do you know what I mean? So it sounds like you grabbed the opportunities that were in front of you. Well, not even grabbed them, like, you know, jumped in the deep end and then swam towards it.
Yeah.
And I know I've seen, like, you know, you took notes on what do I need to do to achieve that next goal? Right, I've all got it written here. So I need to. That's just a shame that, you know.
No, it's hard. I think as well that you're right. Not everyone is like that. But like, I would say the information is out there and it's readily available for you to become that type of person. Like I would say I wasn't naturally born like with this mindset. Like if you think about, you knew me when I was 18 to 21. I was a pothead. I was working in bars. I was in a band. That's all I wanted to do. Like I wasn't really like a ambitious, business focused, like, I'm not entrepreneurial, but you know what I mean? I wasn't that kind of person. That's something I developed and that's something I worked on from the point at which I took the job in finance. So like, I'd say like the information is there and it's available if you make the decision, right, I'm going to fully apply myself. Yeah, it is there if you're looking for it. But I do get the point, you know, it's very individual, isn't it? Everybody's experience is different.
Yeah. No, but it is 100% there if you're looking for it. And I think there are companies that put everything in place that you need to know, you know, personal development plans. You have your appraisals. You just need to be more vocal and more confident as well. And another thing I was going to say is, you know, just try it, like go for things you just don't know if you've got it in you, but just go for it. Like, you know, interviews and that. Just if you see a role and you're like, you know, would I do that? I don't know. I'm just going to leave it. Nah, if you think that it's something worth doing, just try. I think you'd be surprised at how your success rate is a lot better. Like, I've never failed an interview I've gone for in my life, about 10. I think I buckled one, which I didn't want. So I just jacked it in. But do you know what I mean? That's like 100% pass rate in about 10 interviews in my life.
You'd be surprised at how much you can do and how well you can do.
You would.
You really would. I think a lot of people don't like, I don't know, from where I sit, they don't actually push themselves and see how well they could actually do, and like how successful they could actually be, you know, if they really did apply themselves. I think you'd be surprised, like at what you can do.
That's it. Taking chances will push you a lot further than I don't know, either being complacent or just not giving it a go.
I think that's it. It's the effort for me. That's where I'd kind of say, like, that's where you do have control. Effort is something that is well within your control. So your background might be different, your IQ, where you were born, whatever that is. Yeah, that could be. You don't have control over that, but what you do have control over is how much effort you are going to put into the job at hand. And from my experience, hard work has always been rewarded. Like, I've always been rewarded for when I've worked hard. And I think everybody has the capacity within them to work hard, no matter for where you're starting from. You know, we're all starting from different positions. That's not what I'm saying, but if you fully apply yourself, put the effort in, I think you'd be surprised, particularly in a job that you don't think is for you. Like, I think your perspective will change once you start applying yourself and get a little bit of responsibility, get a little bit better at it, feel a bit more confident, get good performance reviews, getting promotions. It kind of changes your perspective a little. Well, it did for me anyway.
Yeah, like it's actually doable.
Yeah.
Instead of something that's just impossible.
Also, like, from applying myself to this job in finance, like, I've learned skills that will stay with me for life, like communication skills, time management, discipline, collecting invoices and the importance of cash management, managing people, all sorts of skills that will set me up and would be transferable to any job, any industry, anything I really wanted to do. So even if you view it that way, you know, apply yourself to a job where those types of skills are taught for 2 years, build up your CV, build up those skills that are desirable in any industry, in any role, and then you've got more options available to you. You're not just coming out of school looking for that dream job. You're somebody who's got all these skills that are built up. You've got a CV, you've got work experience, you've got references. So you're in a much better position then when the job that you maybe do want comes up to actually go for that job.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So even if your heart's not in it, right, just selfishly use that job as character development. Just hang around in there and be like, right, I'm going to take this from it, this from it, this from it. I'm not hanging around. I know it's not for me, but none of you know that because it's just what I'm thinking. So off the base of that, I'm going to use you in here to exploit it, basically get to know people, network. You learn things.
They'll pay for your exams in most instances. They'll pay for you to do additional courses that you want to do. Exploit it. And then one of two things will happen. Yeah, you'll get to a position where you actually surprise yourself, and because you're now good at that job, you've got more responsibility, you're getting paid well, you're getting put forward for promotions, your perspective might have changed on that job. Or if it doesn't, you're now 2 years in, you've got all those skills, you've got endless opportunities in front of you in terms of what you want to try next or what you want to do. So yeah, I just think back and I'm like, I wish I could go say that to my younger self. But I was like, I wanted to do all these amazing things, these crazy jobs, be a writer. I wanted to do this. I wanted to start my own company. I wanted to do this, but I just wasn't the type of person that could do that. You know, I didn't have the discipline. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the drive. I was lazy. I was a pothead. And I wasted like 3 or 4 years thinking it was just going to happen. And I coasted through various jobs without really applying myself, waiting for it to happen, and it never did. And then I took this job in finance and I am where I am today. And now through that job, I've learned the skills and I've become the type of person that could probably do a lot of the things that I wanted to do when I was younger. So, yeah, it's like it's gone like full circle almost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So once your foot's in the door, just exploit that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's stupid not to. Again, it was not stupid not to. It's like, what's the best option available to you? You know, dream job. Let's say 1% of people ever actually get to work their dream job. Everybody else has to do the other jobs. Do you know what I mean? That is just the way it works. So can you find meaning in the normal jobs? Can you figure out what makes you tick and find out how to do more of that in your job now? That's probably the best way to do it.
I know what you're saying. If that's where you've landed, what are you going to do? You're just going to be miserable about the whole thing and drag yourself through it, or you can try and like make something grow out.
Make the most of it, yeah.
Best of a, can call it a bad situation.
And it's probably like the rational way of looking at it, isn't it? Rather than the burn your bridges, follow your passion. But yeah, I think it's advice that works for most people. It worked for me.
Yeah. I find with like, you know, jobs that require your passion, you know, music or other things, I think you really have to make your mind up while still in education, if that's the route you're going to take. And if you don't do it while you're in education, those windows close a lot quicker. Like once you're an adult, yeah, it's hard to have a career in your passion, because especially, you know, if you come from a life where you don't have your parents to fall back on, you're thrown out into the world, you're suddenly paying your own bills, yeah. It's hard to skedaddle off to university.
Yeah.
You can't really do that, do you know what I mean? Once you've got a mortgage, you've got rent and that, you can't be going off to university. So that's when you fall into the trap of, well, I've got two options. I can go on building sites, I can go in finance, and I can go work in retail, and that's it. But I think if you really want to go into like music journalism, if you really want to, I don't know, and there's hundreds of things like in university, you know, that lead to like degrees, that lead to better jobs that aren't just your traditional jobs, then you kind of have to go through the fucking rigmarole of, okay, college to university, from university to A-levels, or whichever way around it is, and then on to something big. And you can't even stay here in the island and do it, really. You have to go elsewhere. But
yeah, you're right.
You lose that quickly, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think it's age. You know what it is? I think once you start earning a certain level of income, to then take a pay cut is a big thing. We've talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah.
We could both afford to take probably pretty heavy pay cuts in order to, say, start at the bottom of an industry that we've maybe loved.
Yeah.
But once you start earning that level of income, it's very, very difficult to let that go and not be scared about letting it go and actually take that risk and do something else. So there's age, but there's also that not be careful, but once you start earning that money, that's probably you on that kind of path now. You're very few people, I imagine, take a pay cut, take another direction.
Mate, that's right. Because with more money comes more expenditure and more bills.
And a better lifestyle, you know, and you get used to that better lifestyle.
You want a big house, now your mortgage is more expensive. How do you take a pay cut now you've got a big mortgage?
We don't go to Spain anymore. We go to, you know, I don't know.
We fly business.
Gran Canaria. Yeah, we fly business now. And that's it. Like, you don't.
How do you go back from that? Eh? It's hard. Little Yachty has a good short on it, actually, where he's like, you know, like, I'd be screwed now if something happened to my career, because my bills are now 59 grand a month. Do you know what I mean? I've got work. I've got people who work for me. I've got my houses, my property, my insurance on my cars, because I'm a rich and famous dude now. 59 grand. So if it was all to go bust, I'd be done.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So I can't even stop earning money. I need to earn money now to make sure I earn money.
To be
Obviously,
able to fund that lifestyle.
To fund that, he put himself in that position. So do you know what I mean? He's not moaning too much, but he's just saying that it's another side of it that you got to look at.
Yeah, it's
like
it's easy to do as well. We did it. I think I don't know you, but I've done that, but on obviously a smaller scale. I always said I wouldn't, but my expenses have rose with my level of income.
I thought about it once. I was like, right, like, what do I want to do? I was like, I'd love to do like music journalism. I look into uni. I need to go away for that. Right, if I go away, what do I do? I mean, I've got a lot of stuff, and they belong to me, and they're like, you know, I've got nowhere to put them. So I'll have to either sell them. Right, what's my other opportunity if I don't sell all the stuff I own? Can't really get them at my mum's at the moment because of where she lived this at the time. So it's like, right, we can put them in storage. Right, storage is quite expensive. So now I'm just stuck at the first hurdle of where do I put my property? Or do I sell everything and have nothing and then go to England? So then it was just like that. And then that's just one example. And there's a lot of other things. And it's like, damn, you know, I'm at an age now where I can't really go. And if you have other things in life, you have family, you have people getting old in your life, you're in a relationship or whatever, people have kids and everything. It's not like it's so easy for the opportunities to just become minimal.
Yeah, there's I can't remember who it was. It's almost like he talks about it, and there's this time in your life, right, when it's like you don't have any significant responsibility, no kids, you don't have any debt, you're kind of just you got that nothing to worry about. And he's like, that's the time when you should really explore, try and figure out what you want to do, because it has a time limit. And once you go past that time limit, responsibility, kids, debt, mortgages, all the reasons you just said, then you can no longer do.
Yeah.
It's no longer as easy to do those things. And when it's not as easy, you're less likely to do it.
100%. Because there's some things that are irreversible as well. I mean, like, obviously, like having children and that, or saying, oh, this is the person I'm going to be with, you know, let's get married and settle down, or buying a mortgage and that. They're not as easy as I've changed my mind, do you know what I mean? So that's why those windows close, because you've made a decision, and those decisions come with a lot of consequences if you decide to turn your back on them or change them.
Looking back, do you wish you went to university?
Yeah. I do big time, yeah. I'm proper. It's gutted that I never was like mature enough to make the decision that that's what I should have done. I thought earning money was just going to change my life. I couldn't wait to earn money. And I was earning money and I was just going out all the time, obviously, as everyone does. Didn't save a penny, man. Do you know what I mean? I've been working for like, how old am I? I've been working for like 12 years now.
It's gone quick, eh?
Yeah, and like I don't have much saved, man, to tell you that the truth, like. So it's just one of them, man. I wish I was smarter with a lot of things. I wish I would have saved properly, and I would have loved to go to uni to see what options there were in sort of music and in music journalism and that. And it's funny now because you look back and you don't realize that, oh Jesus Christ, the times it's been 12 years. I'd have been to uni and been back for a long time now.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn, I should have done it. Do you know what I mean?
My problem is I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like back then, did you know that music journal?
Nah, I didn't have that sort of head now. So now I'm a little bit older, and that's the thing. Like we're talking about coming full circle and like, you know, all wrapping themselves around each other. It's like it's only been the last few years where I've said I wish I would have done that. At 21, if someone said, "Hey, mate, go to uni and do music," I'd have said, "No, mate, I got to be down the old England."
Isn't it almost like it's one of those things where university should be something you do at 30, not 18?
Yes. It is.
It's like you need to experience life. You need to try a few things before you know what you want to commit 2, 3, 4 years of your life to.
1,000,000%. I've thought that exact thought multiple times over the last few years. You're asked to make lifelong decisions well too early when you're not mature enough. I don't know what the alternative would be. I mean, you can't stay in education forever, but it's just like, you're asking me now at 18 if I want to make the decision that will lead to me being able to go to university. All I'm thinking about is, you know, going out and alcohol and girls and what else not. Like, nothing to do with education, especially not my future. I've not got my future in my mind. Is that our fault for not having the correct head on us? But I knew I needed to go through things before I sort of had that mentality.
But even then, it's like you haven't experienced anything at 18. You've been at school. And then you've done A-levels, you've not experienced anything, you probably haven't been travelling, you've not worked, you've not... how do you know?
Exactly.
And like university comes at a cost, you know, it's not cheap. It's not only is it a key, like big life decision, you're going to be paying for that life decision for however many years after it, so...
No, that's a good point, mate. Do you know what I mean? You haven't experienced anything. So there's nothing in your head to say, am I making a right decision or am I making the wrong decision? You don't even think about that.
Yeah.
There's no alternative because you just don't look that far ahead, man.
Like how many of our mates I know that went to uni or college and did sports, because at all school we all played footy, and then now do nothing sports related.
Yeah, I know.
Don't even like play Sunday footy anymore.
Yeah, I know. I remember someone saying I went to sports therapy and they got me massaging this guy's back, mate. I was like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And that's the same as like with media, mate. Do you know why I done media with you? Not with you, but why I done media is because someone told me I had a recording studio and I thought, oh man, they'll have a load of instruments. We'll go in there every day. And they sat us down at a computer. We stayed at a computer for a year, man. I hated it, just typing. I didn't know that's what I was getting myself signed up for.
I don't even remember why I did it. Like, it was just before all this and before I had an interest in this. And isn't it funny how things come full circle? Like, we've said this before, but like, a media course would have been so valuable now that we're doing this, and like we'd have probably been well more engaged in it, like different types of cameras, different lighting, the theory behind it. We'd know a bit more. We'd actually be a little bit interested, yeah. But
I'd be on episode 500, maybe.
I got kicked out after like 4 months. You've done a year, hated it, whereas now it's like we'd have loved it.
I don't know, man. It's funny how it works.
How it all changes, yeah.
But that was boring, and they weren't like, I hate it.
We said the same about school, haven't we? It's like at school, it's like, it's things that just, there's no interest, and it's the way it's delivered. It's kind of like, it's dry, and it's like, you see no point in it. Whereas since we've left school, we both, how many different things have we learned? You know, guitar, this, we've done cooking, whatever, all the stuff we've done. Self-taught ourselves all these new hobbies, new interests, and like fell in love with learning. So it's not that it's like, and that's the same with your career as well, I guess. It's like, don't label yourself as like, I'm not interested, I don't like to learn, I hate education, because it might just be the environment in which you were taught. Like if you look at us since we left, all we do is read, research, learn new things. So
that is funny, isn't it? Always reading books, learning, researching. I know, like researching how you used to have to do for exams.
I hated it. You'd have to like force me to sit down at a table for an hour to research something.
Yeah.
And I'd just copy and paste it and hope I got away with it. Like no effort, wasn't interested. Don't care what I get for my grades.
Now you can't keep me off Wikipedia, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Oh man, days.
I suppose it just shows you it's the environment in which it's not like the person. It's down to a lot of it's down to environment and how it's delivered. When we get to learn our own topics and we do it in our own way, we thrived. Whereas at school,
you're given the option of
yeah.
A, B, or C. Like we talked about like history. Do you know what I mean? I think I had to choose from cowboys and Indians in the war. And now, like, you know, I read Malcolm X book, like 600-page Malcolm X books, but that was never an option back then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had two things I didn't give a shit about, and that was my only options. I think like the education system's a little bit archaic. Secondary school education, anyway. That needs to definitely just be looked at. It's funny they haven't changed that over the years, isn't it?
I wonder if it has changed and they're doing more kind of modern day curriculum. But yeah, it was like, once you get past basic maths, teaching me Pythagoras, the circumference, how to measure the circumference of a circle and things like that, I didn't like, what benefit is that? Why would I, like, most children aren't going to become mathematicians and you don't use that in everyday life. So
exactly,
why would you, what is the benefit to teaching people that?
Yeah, it's completely absurd. And, you know, people's like attention retention is fucking like 2 hours or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Why are we stuck in 7-hour classrooms when you know, like, I'm only going to learn it for the first half of the morning and then I'm just dead. I'm brain dead by then. So they've not got it on lock, man. It needs to be rectified. They in primary, they do other stuff now, do coding. Kids
and that,
they learn coding, which is pretty cool.
Has to change, like the world's changed.
Exactly, so follow suit. But they're so quick to follow suit with everything. R.I.P. Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
But they don't like, this is like worldwide. Well, sorry, not worldwide, but do you know what I mean? We all go to school around here or been to school, so how's that not being addressed?
Yeah. But yeah, so to wrap up topic of the week then.
Yeah.
I guess from my side, it's like, it'd be a shame for work to always just be just a job and a means to pay bills. So if you can figure out a way to make it more than that, whatever that is, if you're in a position where you don't have significant responsibility, take that opportunity, go and do something you really want to do. Take that like jump, or go the other way, fully apply yourself to your job that you have now and just see after a year where you are, if you still feel the same. If it's changed now, if you're getting better at it, more responsibility, more money.
Yeah.
And just figure out a way to make work more than just work. Like living for the weekend isn't a good way to live, I don't think. And it's like, it's going to be a long working career if that's the way it's viewed, you know?
I agree with you, mate, 100%. I know exactly what you're trying to say and what message you're trying to get across, that you have to work. Most people have to work, right? And you'll be working for 70 years. And so what you're going to do, you're going to go through those 70 years and look back and say, drag my feet through that, I was quite sad. Or you can look back, you know, and say, I kind of paved my own path made the best of the situation I was put in, and I'd done that because, you know, not only did I not have a choice, but it actually worked out for the best, because with me trying that now, I have this gaff and I have this gaff instead of that gaff. Do you know what I mean? I have 3 kids instead of 1. I've stuff I always wanted. I drive this car instead of, you know, in the banged up car. And those things, those are materialistic sort of examples.
I know what you're saying.
It just gives you more value. It'll be a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, you become more valuable, and like that opens up a lot of opportunity. That gets noticed because people want to employ like high performers and people that work hard. So you might be surprised at who reaches out to you, what jobs you get offered, you know, what opportunities come up that actually, you are somebody that is kind of in a position to go after that opportunity. So as well as those things, it's like you might be surprised at what opportunities come available to you once you start fully applying yourself and getting good and acquiring all those skills that all of these companies want to teach you. Eat it up, take it, exploit it as much as you can, and then see where you end up.
That's mate, and we can evidence that with what we're doing right now. Like, since we started this podcast, you're back on your Instagram account, you're posting a few things to your Instagram account, say this is what I'm doing with cameras. We've had messages of people asking for, you know, asking a couple of things.
So that's exactly it. And like, if we start, like, this is what I say about applying yourself and acquiring all those skills, right? If we said that when we were 18 we're going to start this podcast, I don't think that's something that we could have done, or I wouldn't have been able to learn the audio, the cameras. I wouldn't have had the patience for it. I'd have given up after, however, wouldn't have been long before I'd given up and just back out on the weekends, right? But now I'm at a point in my life where I've done hard things before. I've already taught myself things from scratch. I've had to learn new things at work. I've taken on responsibility. I know how to manage time. So I'm able to like fit this podcast in around my work, do something I love, learn something new, because I was the type of person that could do that now. And that came from applying myself to a job probably initially didn't think was for me. So, yeah.
Cool, man. Happy days. Career Bashed Out, episode number 12. Mate.